Ian, I don't know how to start this. I don't. I actually, you said okay, start the thing, and I'm like okay, and it's like, well, we're not doing Sonic Comic Chaos, so I can't even default to that. But it's like, I guess like I would do like there's a part of me that's like, oh, I'll do like the here I come rougher than the rest of them, but like no, I can't do that. Like
It's an insult.
Like I. Anyway, guys, we're talking about the Knuckles show.
Hooray!
It's not very good.
It's finally here.
It is here.
And it sure is really, really funny. And I liked it a lot.
Well, Ian, to justify what this video may or may not be titled, you're somewhat of a Knuckles expert, right? Bit of a
I am somewhat of a Knuckles expert. That's true.
A knucklehead, if you will.
Yes.
You know, Ian, I just finished watching Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Uh-huh.
But I feel like the show about the more important Avatar is the one I just watched, which is Knuckles the Echidna, obviously. You know, the show isn't even called Knuckles the Echidna. I found that funny. It's just called Knuckles.
Knuckles.
It's just like
Well, Ken Penders
this show sucks.
Like, what is there to talk about? Okay, by the way, I said it was funny. So here's the thing. So just for everyone who doesn't know, if they're just coming here to just hear us talk. So the Knuckles show, the big thing that's kind of going on about it is that Knuckles is barely in it. Now, whenever I first heard this, I thought that people were probably just over exaggerating. Like, okay, guys, like it's probably gonna have like a subplot that's like, because obviously like Wade. It's about Wade and Knuckles. And so Wade is probably going to get a lot of screen time and a lot of time with like, his family or whatever. And then Knuckles is going to have his story that's going parallel. And maybe people don't like that. So then it feels like Wade is getting more. No, that's incorrect. Knuckles legitimately is like an afterthought in the show. It is entirely the Wade show, to the point where Knuckles has a final battle against like a giant robot, which is like, the thing you've come to see here, which is Knuckles fighting stuff. And that gets less time dedicated to it than like a 10 to 15 minute bowling match, and like build up to the bowling match and like aftermath and like the ties in between of Wade fighting his deadbeat dad in a bowling contest. Pistol Pete. If there's any Sonic villains, we always want Sonic to have a rogues gallery, right? Well, Pistol Pete, Wade Wiggles, deadbeat dad who's a bowler. We can add him to the list.
Yeah.
But the reason I found this show so funny is because this is kind of the most interesting thing to get to, is this show has like intentional or not, has like so much like contempt for Sonic fans. Watching this, I genuinely felt embarrassed to be a Sonic fan, because what I felt watching it was that at like anytime like these characters would say like Robotnik or like Gun or like any of that stuff, I would just cringe, because I'm like, these like actors came into this set and you can tell that the director sat them down. They're like, guys, so we were hired to make like a Knuckles show. I threw that out immediately. All right. What we're actually going to do is we're just going to make like an early 2000s, like stupid little comedy or whatever with, a bit of heart about like a kid finding his dad and realizing he's a bad dad and he can be his own man, blah, 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 blah. We'll figure it out. And then you guys just like riff, just do whatever you want. We're going to have like a rock opera where we just like bring in a bunch of Sonic references and completely misuse them. Like we're just going to take the names and just throw them out there. Just throw out these little references, tie them all together. None of it makes any sense or whatever. We're just going to do that. So it's not even like jangling. Like this is what makes it so funny. It's not even like the show is dangling keys in front of you. It's like it took like the baby plastic keys that like the toddler's like bitten pieces off of because it's grown its teeth out, and it's just like doodly. Oh, you like the pink and blue keys, you idiot! And then it like tosses it into like the dirt and says, "Go pick up your keys. You see, it's got Knuckles on it. You want to hold that? You want to lick that? Yeah, you little piece of filth." And I'm like, that is so funny. It is so funny how much this show hates its audience, and it never flinches. It never has like a bone of sincerity that like this is about like Knuckles and it wants you to care about it. It is so cynical, but it does it with so much like oomph. It does it with so much like pelvis thrust, baby. Like you're gonna die seeing like Knuckles do nothing. You're gonna watch Wade Wiggles come in, save the day, tell you about how you don't need your dad, man, because your dad sucks. Pistol Pete. And then the show ends and they high five. That's what the Knuckles show's about. It was terrible, and I loved it.
I I had similar. Okay, so for the first few episodes, I was like, okay, people are exaggerating when they say Knuckles is barely in the show. The show is obviously about Wade, even in those first few episodes. But Knuckles is in it enough. They're doing enough Sonic E kind of stuff. You know, it's whatever. Then episode 4 hits, and Ian, I'm just gonna read the DM you sent me. So I didn't get to. I had to wait to watch this, folks. I had to make sure I stayed off social media for just the plethora of spoilers I was, of course, bound to get because there's so much to spoil in this fucking show. But so I was at work today on my lunch break, and Ian, you sent me this on Twitter. Episode 4, my jaw is on the floor. And so episode 4 starts, right? And I'm thinking like, oh man, what is this thing that happened that had Ian like, man, Ian's not an easy guy to shake. What is it? And I mean, you've all watched it, I assume, if you're watching this, or you've seen the clips. The clips. Here's the thing, audience. You've seen the if you've seen the clips, it's from that episode. It's from that episode. And so I remember being like, but even then, I kind of fucked with episode 4. Like,
Yeah.
because I was like, oh, okay, like this is stupid, but like
They just
whatever.
go for it.
We're having fun, you know. It's balls to the wall, like, oh, whatever. And also Iblis is in it, I guess.
Oh yeah, so to again for the people, so like what happens is they do like it, like Wade goes into like a dream world, a warrior world or whatever, and he has to like learn Knuckles' backstory from Chief Pakakamak. And so they go through that, and like Wade is like dressed up as Knuckles, and there's like this giant rock opera with like all the different characters or whatever, and Knuckles is not in this at all, but it's just Wade as Knuckles in a Knuckles outfit, and they just throw so many references at you. So let's try to break this down. So Knuckles, his backstory is that he was trained by Chief Pakakamak, who, if you know from the Sonic games, is a war criminal who killed babies. So in this universe, he's just like a cool little guy, you know. He just trains Knuckles, and he works at a bowling alley in the brain or whatever. And then Knuckles apparently trained in Sonic 2 special zones, fighting badniks that can't exist because Robotnik didn't exist when Knuckles was a child. He fought those. And then like fought like, you know, ring monitors or whatever. And then he fights Iblis from Sonic 06 at some point in his backstory. And then he uses his, you know, Knuckles' signature technique. We've all played the games. Knuckles' signature technique, the Flames of Disaster. Huh? So
Yeah,
none of it connects at all. It's not even like they looked at and they were like, let's use this in like a clever way or whatever. Like the arms dealers that they're working with are the Black Arms. Haha, got it. So it's like, oh, they're arms, but they're arms dealers. That at least like had like a centimeter of thought put in it, like a neuron fired, you know? But like the way this works, it genuinely looks like someone typed in like Sonic titles and they're like, Flames of Disaster. That could be like a good like fire name. There's like a demon red monster or whatever. Just throw that in or whatever. Who even cares? It's so disrespectful and it's so funny.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You said to me before we started recording that that they were like, hey, you know, there's this guy named Silver Ace 01 who really just desperately wants any modicum of 06 representation in these movies. I guess I got it. Because it's Iblis, right? Like, or close enough. It's a big fire monster called the Flames of. Is it called the Flames of Disaster? Like, or is it just the coincidence to end all coincidences? And that's the thing, audience. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, and doesn't he like go past like one of those signs that you go past at the end of like a Sonic stage? Doesn't it become like Zavok?
I think that was meant to be Iblis, or let's just call it.
But it
Iblis.
looks so bad.
It looked, yeah. And then okay, but so as I was saying, so first 3 episodes I was like, whatever, like this is okay. 4th episode I was like, this is batshit crazy, and I kind of love it. And then 5 and 6 just like drained my will to live. Like because the show just forgets about Knuckles.
Yeah.
Like, at least in those first few episodes, while it's about Wade, Knuckles is still like a central like part of it. Knuckles just goes and sleeps in a hotel room for pretty much all of episode 5. Knuckles is like not at all in episode 5. And episode 6, like they remembered that, like, oh yeah, Knuckles should probably like punch something in the last episode. But even then, the final battle is not, oh well, we'll have Knuckles punch something. No, it's Wade will put on these big robot gloves and throw bowling balls at the robot. Which, by the way, so there's this guy. Do we ever hear his name? Do we ever learn
He's
his
just
name?
the buyer.
I'm gonna call him Snively. So Snively, he used to work for Robotnik, and so here's what I don't understand. Again, this show just has such. You're right. You're the nail on the head. This show just has such disregard for Sonic fans. It's like, why do you care, you nerd? Like, because he's like, I used to work for Gun. I used to work for Robotnik before he went nuts. It's like, no. In Sonic 2, they clearly say that Gun was made after Sonic came to Earth and after all that happened.
Yeah.
But okay, whatever. But so there's this guy who was like barely in the show, and the two like mini bosses are like working for him, and so they get beaten in episode 5, and then in episode, or maybe it's at the start of episode 6, it doesn't matter. And so then they're like, yeah, he should probably punch something, and so then this guy just shows up. Snively just shows up in a mech suit. And it's like, I guess we should fight. But yeah, and then the show just ends. They unironically do a jump in the air, freeze frame, credits roll ending.
Yeah. Again, it's just looking you in the face and be like, are you still watching? You idiot. Are you stupid? Dude, do you know how much money we got paid to make this? And you're still watching? You baby? You little toddler face? Idiot. And you're like, I didn't come here to be insulted. I just wanted to see Knuckles.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, right? Is that people have been saying like, oh, well, the reason the show is the way it is because of budget. They can't have Knuckles on
then maybe
screen
they
that
shouldn't
long.
have made a show about a cartoon character.
Well, no, here's what I'm getting at. They're like, oh, the reason the Chaotix aren't in this is because of budget. The reason Knuckles isn't in it is because of budget. No, I fully believe this is the show they wanted to make.
Yeah, of course.
There's no, oh, well, we wanted to do all this cool stuff, but budget. Like, because, it's funny. So for the first few episodes, I remember when this show was first happening, right? And honestly, the entire Sonic movie franchise as a whole, right, is kind of this thing where it's like, you have to meet it where it is. Where it's like, if you came to me and asked me to make a Knuckles show, it would not be anything remotely resembling this. It would probably be like, oh, he teams up with the Chaotix and they go on like a fun road trip. Or, I don't know, Tikal takes him on like a spirit quest. Or even something with Rouge. Him and Rouge do a heist or whatever. Because like those are like Sonic characters, But it's like, okay, well, that's not what they're doing. So like, I have to meet the show on its terms. And I don't even know. Like, I'm baffled. Like, audience, I guess I should actually say for the record, I finished this show like an hour ago. I haven't quite processed. It's also like just such a reality check, because, and I had a bit of this when I was getting that Knuckles picture for the thumbnail for the last podcast, because I had to watch that scene of Sonic and Knuckles fighting on the snowboards, right? And this was among all the things. This was like right when like all the shadow hype was happening, and I remember watching that scene. It was like, oh yeah, this is still the universe we're stuck with for this. Now imagine that times like a million in this show.
But yeah, well, you said like these shows you have to meet them halfway, or these movies you have to meet them halfway, right? Or it's like you get your Sonic stuff, but at the price of it being like a kiddie baby movie sometimes, and in the first in the first movie's case most of the time. But this is like what your parents were talking about when they say like you give someone an inch, they'll take a mile. Because like this entire show is just like, all right, Knuckles, let's see what, like, we watched the first movie, we had hesitation, we were like, oh, it was a pleasant surprise. Then the second movie won us over, where it's like, you know what, it had some moments that I didn't like, but for the most part it got the heart. Knuckles, show me what you got. And when you said show me what you got, it sucker punched you in the face and stole your money. Like, it was like, you idiot, why did you trust me? That's what happened.
Well, and that's what's so interesting, right? Is that, Ian, you and I, we talked about that second movie, and I think we both basically came to the conclusion where it's like, it's fine, and it's basically held up by its Sonic elements. Whereas, like, I think the first movie, honestly, like, I think I enjoy the second movie more because of those Sonic elements, but honestly, I think the first one's a stronger movie. And then this one is like, God, yeah, yeah, your analogy is apt. Where it's like, yeah, he was a sucker punch, and then it took my money. I will say it's still better than Prime.
Oh, by a million years. Again, I enjoyed the show because at a certain point I understood that like I had gotten mugged and I was in the back of the car. So like at least they're playing like some good tunes, you know, like the scenery is nice. They they didn't keep me blindfolded. And while the goons were talking, they were like, like my dad never really talked to me. And they were like being really chill about it, And they were like kind of broing out. So like I might be a hostage here, but like if I die, at least I died learning that like somewhere out there someone loves this guy, and that's pretty good. There's love in the world. That's what the Knuckles show is. Sonic Prime is that like I went to go see a concert, and then like the concert guy came out and told me about his feelings for like 7 hours, and we weren't allowed to leave. And then like they just kept playing the same song.
Yeah,
like these analogies are terrible, by the way. I hope nobody thinks I'm proud of these, but like it's just my jaw on the floor. I could not believe, because there's like so many scenes where like it just goes and goes and goes, and you're like, are we still talking about Wade? like there's a scene with his dad, and like it's played completely straight. There's no like that's what I think that's what makes it like feel even more like an FU to the audience, is that there is no like you would think like, oh, it's just being goofy, right? So like Wade's gonna talk to his dad, and then there's gonna be like a comedic punchline to like undercut it, and it's like, aha, this this show doesn't take itself seriously. But no, like when the show wants to do the emotional moments, it commits to it. And so like you have scenes where like Wade is talking to his mom, and his mom has to deal with the fact that she's seeing her son like get along with like her husband who left them, and trying to tell him like, hey, he does a really good job of like trying to make you love him, but like eventually he might leave you. And she's like, well, mom, like I know you might have problems with dad, but I'm still trying to find my relationship with Matt. And you're like, why is this still going? What is happening? Am I in an alternate reality?
Oh yeah, I mean, I definitely I did take a couple notes. I didn't take a ton. But one for episode 5, it was all caps. Where is Knuckles? Like, yeah, no. Also, oh god, I think I might have to cut this part out. But Are
we gonna talk about?
Maybe we are. So
Knuckles, I have a point if you're not comfortable.
Knuckles is talking about how his people. So Knuckles is at a Jewish.
Yes, let's go.
He's at a Jewish dinner, and he's talking about how his people were wiped out
by owls.
Yeah, and then doesn't the mom? The mom has a line.
And the mom looks him in the eye and is like, well, I can relate because my tribe was also almost wiped out, but not by owls. Lol.
Did she say that? Is
yes.
it that blatant?
Yes. She says, well, my tribe was also, almost destroyed, but,
okay.
Not by owls.
Okay, well, I guess I don't need to edit this out then, because I guess the show is...
Yeah, so I was going to say, so this is the second time that Knuckles the Echidna side content has directly tied Knuckles into the Holocaust.
Yes!
I don't know how this has happened in our timeline twice. So again, for the people who are flabbergasted, so Wade's family is Jewish, and not just like, oh, they're Jewish, so they like, because he goes home and they have a celebration, and you would think like, oh, that's going to tie into like the narrative of like Wade and his family. So like obviously this could have been like a Christmas, or it could have been like a different holiday or whatever, but they chose to do like a Jewish holiday. Okay, that's kind of cool, and you can tie that into like Knuckles has his own customs, and he's trying to learn about customs of other people, and then obviously you get to show that to the audience or whatever. But no, the mom's whole thing for like this episode is she keeps going. So you know how like different like groups of people will like claim a character. Knuckles universally has been claimed as like he is black. He has rap in his music. Lots of people are like, yeah, Knuckles is black or whatever. And this show is like, nah. The mom consistently says, oh, he's Jewish. He's basically Jewish. Dude, Knuckles is such a Jew. That's obvious. And it's like, what is happening? Why is this? What is going on? And there's like a part where like, they're like, hey, Knuckles, did you know that like blah, blah, blah? And they'll be like, oh, I didn't know that. And she's like, yeah, you're basically a Jew. That's awesome. And then there's a part where they say like, oh, the mom was a fighter. And they're like, yeah, she learned it in the Israeli Defense Force. That's her fighting tactic. It's like, what is going on?
There was a point where I was like, is this offensive? I don't know. like,
There's a part where Knuckles is like, oh yeah, like I've traveled across the galaxy. I was in like a desert for 14 days or whatever. I didn't have any food. And she goes, well, Joshua, he was stuck in the desert for 40 years if you open up your Bible to Genesis. And he didn't really complain about it, so it's not that big a deal, honestly. Like, she mocks Knuckles. She's like, Joshua in the Bible did it like way better and cooler. So
it's so.
I guess it wouldn't have been the Bible; it'd be the Torah. But yeah. Like it's like what is going on?
I don't know. I just my jaw was on the floor. I was like, how does Knuckles keep encountering references to the Holocaust? How does this keep happening?
Well, okay, so you don't know this, but in the Knuckles comic, besides like the Nazi stuff, there's a whole arc where Knuckles is teleported to a group of forgotten echidnas who have been wandering around the world for years trying to literally find their promised land. That is the idea. And then and then I almost said Jesus. Knuckles, he then walks on water. So this runs deep, okay? This is like Knuckles is Jewish, I guess. He's a Jewish analog. Oh yeah, the first thing that the mom says when Knuckles comes to their house is he's like, oh, Wade's like, I brought a friend, and she's like, oh, a girlfriend? Is she Jewish? And that's why later she's like, oh, he is a Jew, and it's like, what is happening?
Well, and that's the thing, is it's like it just keeps
coming up.
It's like it just snowballs out of control. Like I mean, like maybe I did love this show. I don't know. But like,
I know it has the gall, dude.
It does.
Like if you're watching this in current year, like you're looking at this, so you're like, do they know? Is it intentional?
Oh god, yeah. It was just, and it goes for so long too. I mean, that's the entire episode, right?
It's the whole episode.
It's the Shabbat.
I thought he was gonna wear the little hat at a certain.
Oh god, I wish.
But he didn't, and I was like, okay, they have some restraint.
Do you think a model exists of Knuckles wearing the little hat? And they were like, we can't.
And then I love that, by the way. So after this is all done, again, if you thought like, oh, I guess Knuckles is now coded as being Jewish, okay. Then in the 5th episode, they start out, they're like, whoa, we're not removing Knuckles' black heritage, all right? We brought the rap. And the episode starts with Knuckles on a bike, and it goes, damn, I love girls. Like, it's just like the worst rap you've ever heard.
Well, what's so funny, right? Is that like none of Knuckles' iconic themes are in this.
No,
like, why would they be? Of course they're not.
No,
like, are you an idiot?
I bet the fact that they used rap was like an accident.
Oh, 100%. Is Lorelei Jewish, by the way? They say he's Jewish on his mom's side. Is there any Jewish coding there?
Well, she does. She might be Catholic coded. This is a real thing because she. So in one of the stories, actually, this is the story where he gets abducted by his grandpa and he has to take the Jews to the promised land. I mean, the Echidna. So he walks on water. Anyway, so he's there, and literally the first shot of this issue, I can't believe it's here, is like the mom in like a church. And she comes out and she's like, oh, Knuckles, why didn't you come into the church to see me? I would have, I didn't know you were out here. He's like, I don't know if you really feel comfortable in church. And according to Ken, she was originally going to do the sign of the cross, and they were like, that's too Catholic, cut it out. Oh my God. And then they like get in the elevator, and she's like, so did your father ever tell you about like the prophets and Jesus? And he was like, well, Dad was more in like the science and math kind of thing. He's like, well, you got to read the tomes, Knuckles. He's like, I wasn't a big reader, she's like, I don't know, Genesis is pretty good. Like it's like, what is happening? So like that's what makes it so weird. How does this keep happening?
I don't know. Wow. Is there anything else to talk about?
No.
Well, that's the thing. Is like this show starts fairly strong, I'd say. Like episode 1 is like basically what you would expect. Like they have that like drawn out like bowling scene with Wade, but like ultimately, it's basically what you'd expect from a show called Knuckles, right? And then it just like, it never like. So again, like I said, audience, the show ends with an unironic like jump freeze frame to credits, and I so wish it had actually ended there. But they do have a post credit scene, right? But again, not a post credit scene of like anything you'd want to see. It's them like riding the motorcycle back home, and it's a callback to something earlier where Knuckles is like, "Oh, this is my jam." If you've seen the show, you know it. But like,
Knuckles' iconic motorcycle that he's always had.
Oh, of course. I find it. How did the hat make it in? Like, did they just see a picture of Knuckles wearing that? They're like, that'd be pretty funny.
They were reading Ken Penders' magnum opus, and they thought, "Oh, I'll try it." And then they didn't realize that it's not even Ken Penders who made the hat, and so they were legally in the clear.
Yeah. But like we never follow up. So like the whole thing starts with Sonic going like, "Hey, this place is your home. Like you need to make yourself a home." Like, and he gets grounded by Tika Sumpter, and like Tails is there. And it just never comes back. We never follow up on it again.
Actually, that's perfect. So this is what I do want to get into. So one, I want to throw a positive, and then I'll throw the biggest negative. So I think the biggest positive of the show is I really wasn't like ever like visually bored, because the show has like actually like a decent pace to it. Like it never really lingers. Like the action scenes actually have like some sort of cinematography to it. Like I was surprised that it really didn't feel like a lot of scenes just kind of like, all right, let's just like put the camera over here. Like that's what made it so crazy, was like you have all this Wade stuff, and it's like you could tell like they really tried to like make it seem like, again, like in early 2000s, like, oh, this guy, he's a wacky guy, he's got to learn to be a man, and he goes on a journey, and it's like, but they like actually like put in the effort to like make it look like those kind of movies. Like it's weird. So like I was never like visually bored with the show. And then again, when it does like the rock opera thing, it looks really cool. Like the fact that they made all these practical like sets or whatever. And again, I just have to imagine like when they made this, were the arts and crafts people making like buzz bombers made out of like cardboard, and they were like, dude, those stupid Sonic fans are gonna see this and they're gonna clap like baby seals, and we don't do anything with it. Idiots. Like who on the art team had to like look up what Iblis looks like and be like, oh, it's from Sonic 06, blah blah blah, and it's a big like fire demon, but they made it look like him. Like what? Like people had to work. Like again, no, like when you make movies and things, you don't just click like the make movie button, right? Someone had to like sit down, look up these pieces of information, and actively choose through pre-production, post-production, like all this stuff, go, yeah, no, this is fine. Like no one's gonna be upset. People will like this. Like and not even in like like they looked at the story and realized like, oh, maybe there's too much Wade. Like, maybe that could get lost or whatever. And they think like, oh, this really, because I'll talk into the big negative with the show. But like they sat down and they have like a puppet dad Knuckles who's like, hello, it's me, puppet dad Knuckles. And like someone
had one to make shot. For one shot. Why is he there?
To make that. So it's incredible. But anyway, here's like the actual big negative with the show. So what you would expect would be that, because the premise of the show allegedly is that Knuckles feels like he doesn't have a purpose anymore because he found the Master Emerald and he put all the little Chaos Emeralds inside or whatever. And so they're good. They got the Master Emerald, which never comes up, by the way. He never uses this as a power source or like.
We never even see it.
Yeah, we don't even see it. They just mention it. But anyway,
where is it?
It's in. It's under the couch. So they have the Master Emerald. That would have been a funny joke, by the way, if like Knuckles like, I don't know what to do with this thing, and he like puts it as like, he's like, oh, I want to make, maybe he's like, I want to make Maddie feel better, so he like puts it over the table as like a chandelier. It's like, I don't know what else we're gonna do with it. But anyway, so like
completely take the piss. Yeah.
Yeah, but so it's like, I don't know what else we're gonna do. So so Knuckles' journey is that he needs to find a new purpose, and the purpose he finds is that he's gonna train someone else in the way of the warrior. And there are parts where Wade is talking about like his dad and how his dad left him and all these things. So naturally, you would think, hey, maybe we connect that to Knuckles and learn something about him as a character and his past and his backstory and Knuckles' emotional baggage of, his life that we want to learn about. So no, instead we don't do that. And so, like, at the very end of the movie, they try to have the Tom Wachowski moment from the first movie where he, like, Sonic dies or whatever, and it's like, oh, he's my friend. And Sonic, the whole movie, he wanted friends. So what does Knuckles want? Knuckles wants a place to belong. And Knuckles has helped Wade become, like, stronger. And I think all that works in terms of not, like, Wade and Knuckles' dynamic as, like, best friends. Like, they have some cute moments, I guess, but they're not really together too much. But I understand why Wade looks up to Knuckles, because Knuckles, when he does do things, he is competent. He's cool. I do appreciate that the only time they're able to beat Knuckles outside of, like, the final battle where he gets, like, beaten by the robot is, like, they have to trick him or whatever, because he does just beat everybody in combat. So, like, Knuckles doesn't look like a chump, which I appreciate. But and, like, sometimes when he's fighting, it looks pretty cool when it happens. But anyway, so Knuckles, he gets this big speech from Wade where Wade's like, Knuckles, you got to get up or whatever, because I know you were searching, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, you found a home and you found a family or whatever. And then Knuckles gets up and he fights for Wade and it looks pretty cool. And then he, like, destroys the robot and that's nice. But it's like, you don't buy that as, like, oh, Knuckles learned a lesson, because we've skipped Knuckles' like journey from that point. He's just kind of been hanging out, watching movies with Knuckles' mom or whatever, learning about, the books of the Bible and how to pray and all that stuff. He's doing all that. And then he just hangs out in the casino and does nothing. And then that's it. So it's like, you don't feel like Knuckles got a parallel journey to Wade. It just feels like Knuckles goes from, I need a purpose. And then at the end, Wade goes, hey, you did have a purpose. Did you get any, like, story development out of that? Did we get to learn anything about you? Did we get to connect anything to Wade and Knuckles about, like, their fathers and, like, their place in the world? No, not really. But, like, you can infer it. The end. You know? So, like, it really is like Knuckles doesn't get a story in the movie.
No.
Like, because it is just about Wade. I think that's the biggest disappointment, is that I could take Wade having a bunch of stuff and, like, maybe, like, having value in that if you like the human characters, but Knuckles legitimately gets nothing. He gets a setup for his thing. He gets all of the show doing nothing other than just, like, hanging out and be like, oh, this is interesting, blah, 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 blah. And he's pretty, Knuckles is pretty charming and cute, him not understanding customs and all these things. It's cute whenever he's like, oh, like, he really admires, like, Wade's mom, and he's like, oh, like, I really like all these things, or like it's kind of cool that Knuckles is someone who does value traditions and does value things like that. So that's where, again, we're like, they're doing like a Shabbat or whatever. That's where it's really endearing, because it's like, oh, Knuckles is, like, tying into this thing about, like, learning about other people's culture, which you would then think would prompt Knuckles to talk about his culture so we could learn more about him, but we don't. So
No.
So that's the movie's biggest flaw. And I don't know if you felt that or not, but the biggest flaw, as with the Knuckles comic, is, hey, where's Knuckles and what does he think about any of this?
Yeah, no, I agree completely. What the fuck were they doing with Pachacamac? Like, what?
Again, someone had to look up that character and just, like, go to the top of his page where it says Chief Pachacamac murdered babies. And they were like, all right, we'll just make him like Knuckles is, like, funny sensei. All right, whatever.
Yeah. Yep. And, like,
Knuckles has a Hitler, so let's just make him funny. It all works out.
Oh, no.
That's the equivalent. They literally wipe out, like, the Chow or whatever, and then they get wiped out. It's crazy.
I know,
but...
And then, yeah, like, I hope none of you were ever hoping to see Tikal in these movies, because there's no fucking way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's never happening.
Is there anything else to talk about?
No, there's nothing.
I
guess we could talk about, is it the worst Sonic show?
No. Prime is. We already established
Prime, because Prime is terrible.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Prime's longer. This was a brisk 6 30-minute episodes. Like, most of them weren't even 30 minutes.
Like, even shorter, honestly.
Yeah. So it's like, whatever. I could sit down and watch this. Like,
yeah, like watching Prime was like draining. Whereas, like, watching this, I was intrigued. I was fascinated by the amount of, like, gall and spitefulness that I was seeing on display, that someone paid, like, millions of dollars to make, just to, like, crap on me, a Sonic fan, and make me feel like a loser. And I was like, you know what? I respect the hustle. Whereas, like, Prime, I was like, this is for babies, and it's bad, and it's bad for babies. Babies should just watch, like, Avatar or something.
Yeah.
Prime is terrible because it just goes forever, and it's for all the reasons we've listed. So, like, this show could never have been, like, worse than that. It would have had to done something insane to be worse than Prime. So,
yeah, no. I mean, like I said when I was talking to you, that's a bar so low it's hanging out with Dark Gaia. Like,
and Chip.
Yeah,
That's
the
sad.
three of them are chunks of teeth. But yeah, no, I also, like I said, I still have it on my TV in front of me, and Knuckles is just looking at me. And I only just now noticed that the synopsis for the show, it says follow Knuckles on a hilarious journey of self-discovery.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It labels itself as a hilarious journey. That's how you know it's good. Yeah, I will say, I think we can pretty confidently say though, it's the worst thing to come out of the Sonic movie universe.
Yeah, I'd say so. Definitely.
I mean, yeah, I guess how does this color like your opinions on the series going forward?
Not much. Someone pointed out that Jeff Fowler only directed the first episode, and hey, that's the one with like Sonic characters and like things happening that are like kind of decent or whatever. So like I don't think like this is something where it's like, oh, like Jeff Fowler betrayed us and he's gonna, direct the other movies and make them like this. I think if you haven't noticed, they didn't really like hype this show up as much. Like no one was saying like this is for the fans, I think, and honestly, with the way people are responding to this, someone tweeted like, with the way people are responding to this, that Jeff Fowler is like calling for reshoots. Like, no, we are definitely shooting that little girl. Okay, so like I think this will only cause people to like think even more. So like the people making these things, like we got to get it right. But I'm not really worried. I think someone pointed out like there's gonna be like they were like, this is like if we get a Shadow show and it's like Shadow is like hanging out with like the arms dealer guy and like he learns like a value of self-discovery and family, and then it's like, oh, off to the side Shadow's just fighting like some dude.
Yeah.
But here I want to present to you the real horror of what we've just witnessed.
Okay.
So kids are going to grow up with the movie universe. And so far, I would say they are eating good with the first movie and the second movie, but with this, there are going to be kids who watch this, and this is going to be like their introduction to like more of Knuckles, and like they're going to be like Wade. So I want to present to you, I'm going to project into the future 10 years from now. There is going to be a YouTube video of something along the lines of like what the Sonic movie franchise taught me about fatherhood. And so I have wrote a potential script for this future person. You can steal it now. And I just want you to imagine, because I believe this will happen, and I find it horrifying and very funny. All right, here we go.
Oh,
Wade Wiggles and Tom Wachowski are pretty underrated Sonic the Hedgehog characters, but I find they fit in perfectly with a cast about freedom and finding your way. While Tom taught me what a good dad looked like and how family doesn't have to be defined by blood, Wade taught me that even if those blood connections are there, they don't run that deep, and they don't have to be defined by them. In conclusion, the Sonic the Hedgehog movie franchise deserves way more respect for its unique cast of empathetic, inspiring characters like Wade and Tom.
That's beautiful, man.
And I just want to project that in the future, that in the future we're going to have Sonic fans who wanted their favorite. They're going to have a tier list, and on that tier list there's going to be Sonic and Zavok and all this guy, and there's going to be Tom Wachowski and Wade Wiggles. And I just want to mentally prepare people when those people say Wade Wiggles taught me that I can go against my abusive father, and they put them in S tier next to Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, I didn't even really think about it until you just said it, but like, yeah, there are people where it's like Wade is going to be their Cosmo, like,
yeah,
right?
Wade is going to be there, like Sally Acorn.
Oh yeah, well, no, I wouldn't say. The reason I said Cosmo is because I remember like a lot of people hated Cosmo, like in the older fandom when I was first joining.
She's like a stupid OC or whatever.
And but nowadays, a lot of people like
really
me. I like Cosmo. And so you're absolutely right. Like, I'm sure a video like that exists for Cosmo, and then said, "Oh God." Oh,
yeah. God. So this is what it is. Wade Wiggles, like people, I don't think people realize Wade Wiggles and Tom Wachowski are like Sonic characters to a generation of Sonic fans, and they will be remembered as such for teaching them life lessons. And this is something we have to deal with going forward. So. Prepare yourself, and die. That's the message.
That's so fucking funny, dude.
Do you have anything else to say? I just wanted to end on that horror. So
I mean, as for my own thoughts on the future of the franchise, I think you're right. I think I think movie 3 is going to be good. Although I will say I only just realized it now. I don't know how I didn't realize it while I was watching the show. Maybe because I was too dumbfounded. They've completely fucked over my introducing my favorite character now. Because my thought,
and honestly, making it feel like it's never gonna happen anyway.
Right, like because like here's my thing, right? Like I've been thinking over these last few weeks, like I would literally commit a war crime for Silver to be in these movies. For Silver to get like a tenth of what Shadow is getting right now, just because he's going to be in the third movie.
And they've already chopped off one of the most important parts of his character.
Yeah,
and gave it to Knuckles. Knuckles beat him up.
Yep. And so I was thinking, right, like imagine how fucking hype would it be if Sonic 3 post-credit scene, right? You know, it's just up on a ledge. You see like his boot step down. It's like, I finally found him, the Iblis trigger, and they can't fucking do it now. You
know what they're gonna do? They are gonna bring Silver. They have to because he's popular and he'll make money. But I want to envision an even better tomorrow, and by which case I mean worse for you, which is that Silver will get a movie and it'll be pretty good. They won't do probably like maybe they'll have like you know, he's got to stop the end of the world, but it won't be Iblis. You know, that sucks. But Silver will, I can almost guarantee you, I want to give you some hope. He will appear at some point just because he is popular and he just will make money. Time travel things are popular. It just will happen. They will get to Silver if like these movies keep going, which they clearly will, because Sonic movie 3 is going to make $1 billion. So anyway, so that's all going to happen. I want to prepare you for that. But I want to also prepare you for the worst case scenario, which will happen too, which is that Silver will get a TV show and it will be about him hanging out with Sonic Man. And Sonic Man gets all the time in the spotlight and Sonic Man becomes a great person. And once again, he will destroy everything.
Oh, no. Oh, God, no.
Good night, everybody.
No, we're not done. We're... because here...
Because Sonic Man's a human. So
yeah, no, and he loves to ruin my life. Last year. But so yeah, I will say I did see something that I hadn't even considered, because my thing, right, was like, oh well, obviously we're gonna get a Shadow show after Sonic 3. But I saw someone, maybe it was Games Cage, I don't remember, said something effective like Shadow could carry a movie. And now I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, after seeing this, I would certainly prefer one. Let me say that, because then let's see those fucking fans jot out their budget excuse when it's a $200 million movie and they have fucking Shadow hanging out with, I don't know who's left, the guy who drew the Sonic, Crazy Pete or whatever his name was.
Oh my gosh, you're right. And it'll be about how Crazy Pete's like estranged from his family, and like, oh, that's where the dad thing comes in. So Tom Wachowski's the good dad, Wade Wiggles fights the bad dad, and Crazy Pete is the redemption dad. Oh my gosh, it all fits. It's real.
It's real. But so
and Shadow's the one who does it.
Yep, absolutely. But so no, hopefully it's not that. Yeah, I don't know. Because my thing was like, because I remember I was thinking about this, because I was like, okay, the Knuckles show obviously isn't anything that we would want to be, but like it seems like they're embracing, like with movie 2 and looking forward at movie 3, more Sonic-y elements. I mean, Shadow's riding his fucking motorcycle apparently in movie 3, although I mean we can get into that, whatever. Like maybe the Shadow thing would take more, like, because my thing, right, like my pitch, if I were to pitch the Shadow show, right, I don't know how movie 3 ends, but assuming it ends somewhere vaguely like SA2, you go, well, we defeated the Bio Lizard, we saved the Ark, but Professor Gerald had some other fucked up shit he was working on, so I have to go scour the world to figure that out. Yeah. And along the way, you form Team Dark. You have him meet Root, you have him meet Omega, cool. And yeah, you do like the Shadow Saga, where it's like that's like the formation of Team Dark. Yeah, and you know it's about him like learning to like let people in and the formation of this team, and like he has he sees that like Sonic has him, Tails, and Knuckles. Now he has his team, and now watching this show has firmly that's never going to fucking happen.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna say something too, because I just like hurting people on this video. Amy and Rouge will not be in Sonic movie 3. It's not happening.
Oh no, we would know by now.
They're gonna give them to those, because like people have noticed like there's like some gun agent girl who's like a big name actress. And there's no way they like hired that lady to just like be around. So that's Rouge. That's our new Rouge.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you were never going to get bat tits. I'm sorry, guys. It just wasn't going to happen.
Unfortunately.
But like Amy, I thought like was going to be a shoo-in, but at this rate, it really is going to be that they are going to give it to Tom. And I think the funniest part is that they're going to nail all the shadow stuff. It's going to be really cool. And people are going to be like, well, you know, it's a step in the right direction. And we will continue to suffer forever.
Yeah. And again, we just, that would be strike fucking 3 of them taking one of Amy's most defining moments in the entire series and giving it to another character.
And people would defend it.
Of course they would. Of course they would. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think Amy's gonna be in the third one just because again, I think we would know about her if she was.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't think they're not gonna fight the Bio Lizard. I'm calling that.
I'm still thinking Black Arms. I'm still thinking disposable CGI army, Black Arms, third act.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, no.
Giant beam in the sky.
Yeah. Which is so weird, but it's so weird because like you'd think they'd want a girl, right? Like
yeah, that's what well, they will have a girl. They'll put JoJo.
Sure.
Should be like Sonic, or should be like Shadow. Don't kill everybody. I gave Sonic some shoes sometimes, or that one time, and they're really good looking shoes. I could get you some. I could hook you up. And he goes, you know what? You right. When he doesn't kill everybody.
Yeah. So overall, this show was an experience.
I don't know how we talked about it this long.
We didn't.
That's true.
But yeah, oh man, that but see, I guess come back. We're gonna be talking about something next. I don't know. We're kind of still talking about it.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I think I'm still looking forward to movie 3. I think movie 3 will be a good fun time. And again, I still hope Silver's in this series because if nothing else, then Sega will love him again.
I think that will happen.
I just look, man. You're probably right, and I'm probably just like, the Amy fans probably thought it was gonna happen too. Now look at them.
That's true. You're being the realist side of Silver, and I'm being his optimist side.
Yeah, which is the flip for how it usually is for us. But
yeah,
I know.
I want you to be happy, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. But yeah, plug your shit in.
I'm Ian Waffles. You can find me on Ian Waffles, YouTube and Twitter. Thanks for having me as usual. Hopefully, we can talk more about the Knuckles comic, and also we're obviously deep into Flynn era. We would have a Flynn video out about the Eggman Empire arc, which is really good, but the audio screwed us over, and so we're trying to like pace ourselves out so we can kind of feel fresh when we go back to it. But there'll be more coming.
Yeah. But so yeah, we're doing that. It's gonna be a good fun time. And then I'm here and I'm on Twitter at SilverSomeone.
We're also gonna dive into IDW soon. Maybe we'll do that next.
Yes. We're either gonna do that next or I think we might do another Knuckles. We'll see. I don't know. I'm tired. But yeah, bye everyone.
Bye.